Hey guys, LootWizard here with another Soulforge video on Gems of War, and so we have a new troop and got a new event this week, and we're going to check out what's in the Soulforge here. So let's go do that first. We have weapons, and the only weapon in here I can really say is pretty decent in certain situations is the Nimbus bow. And for one reason, usually I don't really recommend these types of weapons unless there's a good troop that goes along with them. This is going to generate mana, blue and yellow in this case, for Strix allies. Now, there is a Guardian troop that is Strix, and it uses yellow mana. So if you combine this weapon with those Guardians, it will be pretty powerful. So that's what I recommend there. So if you don't, it's only 300 diamonds, not too bad. So if you don't have this weapon and you do have those Guardian troops, I would recommend getting this weapon. But take in mind that those Guardian troops do need to be traded for it to take full advantage of getting these extra 4 and 5 matches from this weapon. Now moving on to troops, let's check out the summoning stones really quick. And nothing really there in blue. Nothing really in green. Go to red. Nothing really here. Nothing in yellow. Rock Troll is pretty good for teams that use brown mana, and if you're using Mountain Crusher, it could be a really good weapon to use. Or, not weapon, but a troop here to generate more mana. So that's one that's possible. If you don't have it yet, might be a good thing to get. Looking here in brown, and nothing really there I can recommend either. So let's move on to Legendary and Mythic Troops. We have Garnok, Emperor Corvash, Queen Grapplepot, and the Widow Queen, all as legendary troops this week. Now, I would say Emperor Corvash is probably the best one here for legendaries. Now, I'm not going to recommend getting any of these legendaries or crafting them with the 800 diamonds because I don't think any of these are worth that. But Emperor Corvash is pretty good. It does true damage to the first 2 enemies. It stuns them and drains their mana. As well as on 4 or 5 matches, it will stun a random enemy. So it's very good. Garnok is the Orc legendary troop that allows all other Orcs to start with 50% mana, but they have not really released any Orc troops that are really good. There's 2 Mythic troops that are Orcs, but neither of them are really that good. They're really bottom tier, and there's really not too many other good Mythic or legendary or other troops for Orcs. Unfortunately, you know, I mean, they could have made better troops for that, but you know, I've tried a lot of different Orc teams, but I've not come up with anything that's really great, so I would just pass on that. Queen Grapplepot is okay, deals damage to all enemies boosted by ally and enemy goblins, gain an extra turn. If you do get it in keys, it's a good troop to use with other goblins. As far as Widow Queen here, it's not really that great. It sacrifices an ally, which means it will lethally kill it. It deals 13 damage to all enemies boosted by the sacrificed troop's life. So it's kind of a weird legendary troop, and I don't use it that often, so I would say, you know, definitely a skip on that as well. The best one here is Emperor Corvash, but like I said, I would not craft any of these legendary troops. So moving on to Mythic Troops here, we have Grand Guitar, and we have Megavore, and we have Umidoth, and then the Lord of Slaughter. Now, I think you guys already know probably which order, at least the number 1 of the Mythics that I'm going to recommend, and that is the Lord of Slaughter. This Mythic troop takes 27 mana, but it is worth it. This troop does create 6 brown gems, then it converts all brown gems to Doom Skulls, and it will inflict 1 to 2 bleeds, 1 to 2 death marks on random enemies. It's a very, very good Mythic troop. Very good. So this is number 1 for crafting. If you don't have this one yet, I would definitely craft it. Works pretty good with Mountain Crusher, and yeah, definitely a good one to craft. Second, in my opinion, is Megavore. Megavore will eliminate all armor from all enemies. It deals 64 damage to an enemy, and it will submerge itself. If you have it fully traded, it will have an 8% chance to kill the last enemy on a 4 or 5 gem match. So this does work really well. It shines in those high level battles like in Explorer 12 difficulty or in high-level delves, because you can eliminate all armor from all enemies. So if all the enemies have 500 armor, one hit from this thing and it will eliminate all of that, and that's a lot of damage. So good damage potential here on Megavore. That's my number 2 pick here to craft if you're going to craft a Mythic Troop this week. And third, this one's definitely not as good as Megavore or the Lord of Slaughter, is Umidoth. Umidoth is kind of an odd troop. It will deal damage to an enemy boosted by all of their skills. If the enemy dies, gain 10 attack and create 12 skulls. The thing with this troop, to maximize its damage, you need to place it in the top spot, because it will place Hunter's Mark on enemies when doing skull damage. And then Hunter marked enemies take double skull damage. But it doesn't really have too much to mitigate skull damage itself, except for a 20% chance to dodge. And that is not very reliable. So yeah, I would say it's definitely a number 3. Number 1, Lord of Slaughter. Number 2, Megavore. Umanov is 3. And then a very, very last place is Gargantor, however you want to say this guy's name. It's an Orc Mythic Troop, and it is just not that good. It deals damage to an enemy boosted by all allies and enemies killed. So it'll do more damage, and it says here boost ratio 15. So it's only going to give you an extra 15 damage for every ally and enemy that dies. So not really that good of a troop. So that's pretty much it for weapons and troops this week in the Soulforge. You got a really good one there with the Lord of Slaughter. And if you already have that, but you don't have Megavore, then you have Megavore that you can craft. Yeah, so let's go over and take a look at the shop here real quick and this new troop that came out. I'm going to grab my Spoils of War real quick. And then we're going to go over here and we'll take a look at this. This is the new troop here, and we get 2 Arcane Skull Trait Stones for 400 glory. So if you do have legendaries or mythics that you can power up with that particular Arcane Stone, you should do that now. Let's see what this guy does. It's kind of a weird looking art on this guy. Night Blossom is its ability. It will drain all mana from an enemy. If there is a storm, death mark them, then conjure a dark storm. 13 mana cost. It's considered undead and Strix. Summon a dark storm at the start of battle. So it can and it will summon a dark storm every time you cast it. So, you know, there's something in there that could be useful, but I don't think it's really too fantastic of a troop. Now let's go over and check out the event here. See what's going on and go to the shop. We're gonna have to get our medal, and I'm hoping that it's spell damage and not skull damage, because or at least a combination. Looks like it has something to do with the Strix troops this time, which there's a few good Strix troops. Sunbird is one of them for sure. Alright, we got ourselves a medal, the Medal of Dawn. And it does 160% skull and spell damage. So that's great, because now we have the option to do either or. And I don't know why I clicked on that. Let's go over here to Sunrise. Let's check this out. See what kind of team we can build. First of all, let's look at the restrictions here. Suncrest. So the kingdom that we need to build troops from is Suncrest. So they might not all be Strix troops, but most of them probably are. Zilopotchli is a mythic troop, but doesn't really do a lot of great stuff. Phoenicia is really amazing if you have a Firestorm. Queen Xochi here is really good. It deals damage to all enemies, and then if there's a storm, it'll explode 5 gems. So as long as you got a storm going, that's really good. We have the Harpy Mage, which is amazing. And let's see what other troops we got. Sunbird in here, and that may be enough. And then we can go for a weapon. So let's see what weapons we have in here. Nimbus Bow is the one I was talking about earlier that you could use. And unfortunately, I don't think we can use the Guardians, because those are considered something that's outside of a kingdom. Not really much to choose from for a weapon, is there? It's kind of weird. This creates blue and yellow. Not at all what I'm looking for here, but, you know, maybe we can pick troops that focus on, definitely yellow is something that we can use. But blue, not too many of these troops even use blue. You got just a few of them, not many. And this, but they're all single target except for, well, this does scatter damage. So I suppose instead of Sunbird, I could throw this in there. And suppose I could put that at the top, or, well, I don't know. Harpy Mage is a great mana generator, but it will create a dust storm. And I don't know if I need that, a dust storm going or not, but for class, I think I'm going to definitely go Stormcaller because we can guarantee that a storm is going to be active and we're going to have a lot of yellow falling down. So I might do something like this, and then we'll do double yellow, blue. Yeah, unfortunately, red's going to get a negative, so Harpy Mage won't receive as much mana. We do have Potion of Explosion enchantment, so it's really not necessary to have Harpy Mage in there, probably. So, what we could do... Yeah, I don't know. We could throw in the Sunbird just as an extra backup source of damage. See how this works. Nice thing about that troop there at the top. Let me go through this one more time. And since we have a guaranteed storm here because of the Stormcaller class, right here, this is going to guarantee a light storm every single turn. And then this troop here is going to damage all enemies, and then it will explode 5 gems because there is a storm going. So this troop right here, Queen Xochi, you can get this down in the Stone Song Eyrie in the Underworld, and it is a really good troop. I don't see people use it too much, but it is pretty good. We'll just focus in here on this one room and see how high we can get it before we start having trouble. Before we start having to cast like 2 different times. Now let's use our weapon. And you can see it generates yellow and blue. And that troop there is going to do triple damage because it is that there's a storm going. So yeah, I would say some team like this, you can use Harpy Mage if you want, but it will conjure a dust storm every time you use it. But yeah, I would say, you know, you might even want to forget about using a weapon unless you really do want a storm like this constantly going. That's what's really good about the Stormcaller class. Here we go. We got a level 70 room. This is a little bit higher. Didn't quite kill those guys, but then we got, you know, that's why it's nice to have a couple of troops that do damage. Level 90 room. Sunbird got him down about halfway, and we got 2 other troops here we can cast. Oh, that killed them. So, yeah, we're getting a little bit higher battles now, so we're having to cast a couple of these to kill them, but I think a team like this will take you really high. It should anyway. As long as you have a means of generating pretty consistent mana, which I think that's ultimately Harpy Mage would be good. Harpy Mage would be good, definitely at higher levels, especially in combination with Queen Xochi, because Queen Xochi uses brown mana, and that Harpy Mage is going to generate a Dust Storm. I just gave them a bunch of mana, didn't I? We have a 110 level room here. Enemy's starting to get a little bit tougher. Yeah, this is a pretty powerful team, I think. We got a level 130. Yeah, so a team that's kind of like that should work pretty good. I don't really have too much else to recommend. There's not really a great choice in weapons. You just have this small selection here, and you might not even have all of these. Nimbus Bow is craftable. If you don't use Nimbus Bow, then you could, you're pretty much stuck with, you know, something else here, which there really isn't much of a choice. This is a, this weapon could be used. This is the class weapon for the Stormcaller class. It deals true damage to an enemy, and then if there's a storm, it'll deal 15 true damage to all enemies. So we could put that at the top and test that out. As far as we could put Harpy Mage in here in place of that, and then we could use Harpy Mage to get mana for Queen Xochi. And then we could leave Telecut in there. You know, that we could do that. And then as far as banner, we'd have to change this to probably yellow-brown. Do something like this. And since we have the Stormcaller class still, it's going to generate all that yellow mana with that Light Storm. And you could even do things a little bit different and put Harpy Mage at the top. And that way it would get powered up more. Quicker, I should say. But let's see what this weapon does here. Because this could be an option for a lot of people that don't have any of those other ones. So it definitely has the power to really... and it's nice that skull damage is so... it's also boosted. So instead of doing that, let's try doing this. So here we go. Harpy Mage is full, and we're going to explode on ourselves there. Generate a lot of good mana there. And yeah, I mean, this setup might be even better. That way you don't have to craft that other weapon. And you have a pretty consistent way of generating mana with Harpy Mage. The Harpy Mage is going to get full like almost immediately because it starts at 75%. Yeah, and with that explosion, it'll be pretty darn full quick. Yeah, I think this is a good team as well. The first one was okay, but I actually kind of like this one better. Here's a level 190 room. Getting a lot of explosions here. We use that skull damage. And let's go ahead and use the weapon. We'll do some true damage. That was nice. We use that skull damage to our advantage. And now we can pretty much just snipe this guy with the weapon. 50 true damage. Yeah, I like that team. I think I like the second one here a little better than the first one. So there you go, guys. Those are some of my ideas on troops that you can use for this event. And thanks for watching as always. I love you guys. And I'll catch you on the next video. Later.